Hulk Hogan's widow, Sky Daly, is planning to file a lawsuit against at least one of the WWE legend's doctors and others for medical malpractice.
When wrestling star Hulk Hogan was discovered dead in his Florida home, the news reported it as a natural death. But soon, some strange details began to appear. These details were serious enough that local police quietly passed the case to the FBI. Authorities said they would not answer questions but promised to share more information later. However, FBI agents searched Hogan's mansion, and what they uncovered stunned everyone. So, what exactly did they uncover? Join us as we unravel the shocking discovery by the FBI in Hogan's mansion. The quiet morning in Clearwater. On the quiet morning of July 24, 2025, the city of Clearwater, Florida, was shaken by shocking and tragic news. Hulk Hogan, born Terry Jean Bollea and known worldwide as one of the greatest wrestling stars of all time, had been found unresponsive in his home at the age of 71. The man who had once dominated wrestling rings, lifted massive opponents, and thrilled millions of fans was suddenly gone. The discovery of his body happened in a way nobody could have expected. It began with Hogan's wife, Sky Daly, who had returned home early from a wellness retreat. She expected to find her husband following his usual routine, meditating, exercising, or relaxing in his home gym. She had done this countless times before and anticipated nothing unusual. But what she encountered that morning would leave an indelible mark on her memory. Sky entered the house through the side door, calling out her husband's name, but there was no reply. The house was unnaturally quiet. She moved toward the back, where Hogan's home gym was located. That room had always been his personal sanctuary, filled with free weights, resistance machines, exercise mats, old championship belts displayed on the walls, and banners with bold motivational sayings. Hulk Hogan had spent countless hours there, staying strong, fit, and disciplined, the same warrior spirit that had made him a global icon. On this morning, however, the gym felt wrong. Sky stepped inside and immediately noticed her husband lying motionless near a weight bench. He was not breathing. His skin was pale, and there were no signs of a struggle. But something about the scene felt deeply unsettling. Sky later described the moment as one that would haunt her forever. Panic quickly set in. Emergency services were called immediately. Paramedics arrived and began performing CPR, then rushed Hogan to Morton Plant Hospital, where doctors fought desperately to save him. Despite their efforts, at exactly 11:17 a.m., Hulk Hogan was pronounced dead. At first, local news reports suggested what seemed the most likely explanation. Considering Hogan's age, decades of intense physical activity, and the strain of more than 25 surgeries throughout his life, many assumed his death was natural, a heart attack or stroke. But as authorities continued their initial investigation, subtle and unusual details started to surface. These small clues, not obvious to the untrained eye, raised questions. Soon, the local police requested assistance from federal authorities. The FBI arrived, and what had initially appeared to be a straightforward case now began to unravel into a complex and mysterious investigation. What did the FBI discover inside Hogan's mansion? Let's find out. Hulk Hogan's mansion. The first thing that struck the FBI agents as they entered Hulk Hogan's Florida mansion was the gym. It caught them completely off guard. Everything was too perfect, almost unnaturally so. Anyone who knew Hulk Hogan would have expected order and cleanliness. He was famously particular about keeping his spaces tidy, but never to this extreme. Normally, his gym was alive with activity. Towels soaked in sweat would hang over benches. half-empty protein shake bottles would sit on counters. Dumbbells might be slightly out of place after a heavy workout. The air would carry the faint, familiar mix of exertion, rubber, and the sharp tang of effort. But on this day, the scene was completely different. There were no towels, no protein bottles. Not a single dumbbell was out of place. The air was clean, almost clinical. Every surface was polished. Every weight was neatly racked. The mirrors were spotless. The floor mats gleamed. It didn't look like a gym that had been used in the last few hours, or even days. It felt like it had been cleaned, arranged, and frozen in time. One FBI agent described it later as eerily sterile, almost staged. But the oddness didn't stop at the gym. Hogan's mansion was equipped with one of the most advanced security systems available. High-definition cameras, motion detectors, remote monitoring, encrypted backups, and multiple layers of internal security had all been installed at significant expense. Normally, such a setup would be nearly impossible to bypass. Yet, when agents checked the system, they found something deeply unusual. Every component of the security network had been manually disabled from inside the house. There was no glitch, no power outage. Someone had physically turned everything off. There were no signs of forced entry. No alarms had been tripped. And for someone like Hulk Hogan, whose obsession with privacy and security was well known, this was alarming. He wasn't a man to leave such matters to chance. For the entire system to be deliberately turned off suggested only two possibilities. Either Hogan had done it himself for unknown reasons, or someone who knew the system and had access to it was inside the house. Soon, the FBI's cybercrime and forensic teams arrived. They left nothing to chance. Smart home activity logs were extracted. Encrypted messages were recovered from cloud backups. Every single movement in and out of the mansion over the past 72 hours was examined. Yet the picture remained puzzling. The gym was pristine, the security system disabled. There were no signs of struggle or forced entry, and no digital traces suggested an external breach. The breakthrough came from a single, mysterious phone call. Just 3 nights before his death, Hulk Hogan received a brief but deeply unsettling call late in the evening. According to his partner, Sky Daly, Hogan listened silently for almost a minute, spoke only one word, and then hung up. He looked pale, shaken, and unlike himself. Sky said it was the first time she had seen fear in his eyes in years. It was like something inside him shut off, she later told investigators. He didn't talk about it, but I could tell it bothered him. Something about that call really got to him. Investigators confirmed that the call had been routed through a complex network of foreign servers, likely spanning multiple countries. Tracing it was nearly impossible. The number was unlisted, and the signal bounced through so many digital layers that any trail disappeared almost instantly. The content of the call remains classified. However, sources close to the investigation have described it as a key factor in understanding the last days of Hulk Hogan's life. One source said it was not just a call, it was a trigger. Before the call, Hogan's life had been calm and structured. Thanks largely to Sky, a respected yoga instructor and wellness coach, he had embraced a healthier, quieter lifestyle. He avoided the spotlight. He focused on clean eating, daily meditation, strength training, and emotional healing. Friends and family said he had finally found a peace that had eluded him for decades. Sky said, "He was the healthiest I had seen him in years. He slept well. He smiled more. He finally seemed content." His son, Nick Hogan, agreed. Dad was in better shape than most 40-year-olds. He followed a strict routine, ate clean, meditated, trained with precision. He wasn't reckless, especially not in his gym. That is why the mysterious phone call was so disturbing. For a man who had rebuilt his life with discipline and calm, this sudden intrusion of something dark and unexplained was like an earthquake. It shook the foundation of his carefully constructed world. As investigators continued to examine Hogan's digital life, an even more complex picture of his private world began to emerge. Was Hogan's life surrounded by scandals? Let's find out. Hulk Hogan's life. When the FBI began investigating Hulk Hogan's final days, their work went far beyond simply looking around his Florida mansion. They traced threads throughout his entire life, knowing that a person's history often leaves patterns, and sometimes those patterns hold the key to understanding their death. In Hulk Hogan's case, his personal history was as complex and dramatic as any wrestling storyline he had ever been part of. Hulk Hogan was famous worldwide for his enormous success in professional wrestling. But he also became a household name because his personal life unfolded in public over decades. In 1983, he married Linda Claridge. Together, they had 2 children, a daughter, Brooke, and a son, Nick. For a long time, they seemed like the perfect American family. That image became widely known when they launched their reality television show, Hogan Knows Best, in 2005. The show offered viewers a look inside their home and presented Hulk Hogan as a devoted father and husband. Fans loved this portrayal of a close-knit family. However, behind the cameras, the Hogan family's life was far from perfect. In 2007, the carefully maintained public image took a dramatic hit. Christiane Plant, a 33-year-old woman who had worked closely with Brooke on her music career, claimed that she had an affair with Hulk Hogan. The allegations spread rapidly, making headlines and casting a long shadow over the family's reputation. Hulk Hogan immediately denied the claims. In his 2009 autobiography, he addressed the scandal head-on, writing, "Linda accused me of cheating more times than I can count, but I never crossed that line." Even with his denials, the damage was done. Trust within the family had been shaken, and Hulk Hogan's marriage to Linda could not survive. In November 2007, Linda filed for divorce, ending their 24-year marriage. The divorce was highly publicized and messy, dominating tabloids and entertainment news for months. Beyond the legal battles, the split was emotionally devastating. Behind the strong and confident public persona, Hulk Hogan struggled deeply. He fell into a severe depression and later admitted that he had even considered self-harm during this dark period. Hulk Hogan credited Illa Ali, his co-star from American Gladiators, with helping him navigate this difficult time. Her support and presence, he said, helped pull him back from the brink. He survived, but the emotional scars remained. By 2010, Hulk Hogan was ready to try again. He married Jennifer McDaniel in a private ceremony. Initially, the relationship seemed promising, but over time, cracks appeared. By 2022, this marriage had also ended. Unlike his first divorce, he handled the separation privately, keeping the details out of the public eye. There was no public chaos, but there was also no lasting peace. Eventually, Sky Daly entered his life. A yoga instructor and mother of 3, Sky appeared at a time when Hulk Hogan was seeking stability and calm. She was 25 years younger than him, but their connection was immediate and strong. In July 2023, during actor Corin Neck's wedding reception, Hulk Hogan surprised everyone by proposing to Sky. The proposal was casual, yet heartfelt. He later joked, "I asked Sky to marry me, and she was crazy enough to say yes, brother." 2 months later, their wedding took place on September 22, 2023, at Indian Rocks Baptist Church in Clearwater, Florida. It was a simple yet elegant ceremony. Sky wore a stunning rudissin dress and diamond jewelry, and the couple exchanged wedding rings valued at $500,000. Hulk Hogan's son, Nick, attended the wedding, but his daughter, Brooke, was notably absent. She later explained that she was on a personal journey that required her to avoid family events at the time. Some friends also expressed concern about how quickly the relationship had progressed. Despite the age difference and the challenges of blending their lives, Sky became a source of calm for Hulk Hogan. According to Nick, she was everything to him, his grounding force and emotional anchor. Their marriage seemed to mark a new chapter, a quieter, more centered life for the man who had once dominated the wrestling world. Tragically, just as Hulk Hogan appeared to be enjoying this period of stability, his sudden death occurred. At the time, Sky was away. Nick later revealed that Hulk Hogan had been eagerly awaiting her return in his final hours. The fact that he had finally found someone who brought him peace, only to be separated from her at the end, adds a poignant weight to his story. For the FBI, these personal details were far from gossip. They provided crucial context. Fractured families, estranged children, and bitter ex-spouses are often significant factors in understanding the circumstances surrounding a death. In Hulk Hogan's case, the intricate patterns of his personal life could help explain the final chapter of the wrestling legend's extraordinary story. Could past conflicts have resurfaced? Could undisclosed financial or legal issues have had an impact? Let's take a closer look. Hogan's struggles and health issues. The second stage of the investigation zoomed in on Hulk Hogan's body itself. Many assumed his death might have been due to natural causes, yet almost immediately, inconsistencies began to appear. Just 2 months before his death, in May 2025, Hogan had undergone a major medical procedure, a 4-level anterior cervical discectomy and fusion, known in medical terms as ACDF surgery. This operation is considered high risk, particularly for someone of his age and when performed across multiple spinal levels. Yet for a man who had spent decades in grueling wrestling matches, enduring countless body slams and injuries, such a procedure was not entirely unexpected. His body had endured more punishment than most people could survive. Friends and family worried, but Hulk Hogan appeared determined to push through. It was soon after this that troubling rumors began to spread. Todd Clem, better known as the shock jock Bubba the Love Sponge, made a dramatic claim on live radio. He told his listeners that Hulk Hogan had fallen into a coma, adding that the situation was so severe that Hogan's family had already been summoned to the hospital to say their final goodbyes. Fans and fellow wrestlers panicked, fearing the end of Hulkamania, while social media exploded with speculation, grief, and confusion. However, the rising panic was quickly countered by Sky Daly, Hulk Hogan's wife. She took to Instagram to issue a clear and firm denial of the rumors. "No, he's definitely not in a coma. His heart is strong, and there was never any lack of oxygen or brain damage. None of those rumors are true," she wrote. For a while, her statement reassured many fans. Hulk Hogan even appeared publicly, looking healthier than ever, smiling for photos, and returning to his home training routine. Despite this, doubt had already taken root. Medical experts quietly noted that the type of surgery Hogan had undergone carried risks that might not appear immediately. They suggested it was possible that his phrenic nerve, the crucial nerve that controls the diaphragm and enables breathing, could have been accidentally damaged during the procedure. If that were the case, it could result in sudden, life-threatening breathing problems. Weeks later, on July 24, 2025, those fears became reality. Sky Daly called 911 from their Clearwater home. Her voice, shaking and desperate, relayed the worst news. "My husband's not breathing. He just stopped breathing." This was no longer a rumor. It was the stark truth of Hulk Hogan's final moments. From that point, theories erupted. Had the surgery triggered a hidden medical time bomb? Or had someone exploited Hogan's vulnerable recovery as a cover for something far more sinister? Even his family was divided over what to believe. Hulk Hogan's daughter, Brooke Hogan, who had been estranged from her father in recent years, insisted on a full autopsy. She even offered to pay for it herself, determined that nothing be left uncertain. Within the wrestling world, opinions were sharply split. Triple H, a longtime colleague, gave a heartfelt tribute, praising Hogan as one of the greatest wrestlers ever. Bubba the Love Sponge, meanwhile, intensified his earlier claims, suggesting that Hogan's death might not have been accidental, though he offered no evidence to support this theory. The result was widespread chaos. Rumors spun at full speed. Was Hulk Hogan's death simply the tragic collapse of an aging body, the result of a risky medical procedure, or something far darker lurking within the walls of his Florida mansion? Headlines, podcasts, and fan forums were consumed with speculation. Everyone had a theory, but no one had definitive answers. For the FBI, cutting through the layers of rumor, denial, and speculation was not optional. It was essential. Then, during the investigation, a discovery inside Hogan's mansion changed everything. One single finding redirected the inquiry, transforming a swirl of uncertainty and gossip into a full-blown national mystery. Was there any proof for the cause of his death? Let's find out. Hulk Hogan's mysterious death. Officially, the death of Hulk Hogan was listed as natural. At first glance, this seemed straightforward. But for those closest to him, and for those who followed the story closely, questions lingered. Brooke Hogan, his daughter, was the first to voice her doubts. Initially, she pressed for clarity, wondering why there had been no public autopsy report and why so much information seemed to be withheld. The lack of immediate answers left her anxious and searching for explanations. Brooke's concerns, however, began to ease after she took matters into her own hands. She met directly with local police officers, reviewed body cam footage from the first responders, and listened to the 911 call made by Sky Daly, the person who had reached emergency services that fateful morning. Each piece of evidence, she said, slowly formed a larger picture. "There's so much red tape," Brooke explained during a recent interview. "From what I understand, when it becomes a medical malpractice situation, it's still considered a natural death." She went further to reassure the public that she had personally confirmed that an autopsy had indeed been performed. Beyond that, she accepted an invitation from the chief of police to examine the official evidence herself. According to Brooke, reviewing the documents, footage, and medical records allowed her to understand what had happened in those final hours. "A lot of those things put the pieces together," she said, suggesting that while painful, the process helped her come to terms with her father's passing. Even so, Brooke admitted there was one element that haunted her more than anything else: the 911 call itself. Hearing Sky's voice over the phone, recounting the emergency, and listening to the panic in that moment was an experience she described as far worse than seeing her father's lifeless body. "Honestly, the most traumatizing thing," she said. For Brooke, that phone call was a raw and lasting memory, one that no paperwork or explanation could erase. While Brooke and many others accepted this version of events, a different, more mysterious story began circulating quietly behind the scenes. According to leaked information from the FBI's second forensic sweep of Hogan's Florida mansion, agents reportedly discovered a concealed space within the home, a hidden basement room that had never been mentioned publicly. The existence of this room has never been officially confirmed, and federal authorities have consistently refused to comment. Yet the details shared in whispers, a source of circulating rumors, are both specific and unsettling. The reports claim that, hidden behind a wall that appeared ordinary at first glance, investigators found a room unlike any typical storage area. The space was described as extraordinarily tidy, with every item organized with meticulous care. Files and folders filled the room, many of which seemed out of place for the life of a retired professional wrestler. Perhaps most alarming, according to the leaks, was a folder dated just one day before Hogan's death. The document allegedly contained information linked to the mysterious late-night call that Sky had described to the police. If true, these discoveries raised troubling questions. Was Hogan compiling sensitive information to protect himself? Was he under pressure or facing threats unknown to the public? Or, more simply, could this hidden room have been a private archive, its importance exaggerated in the retelling of events? The FBI remains silent, insisting only that their investigation continues and that no evidence of foul play has been found. Despite official statements, the rumors have taken root in public consciousness. Combined with the trauma of the 9/11 call and Brooks' decision to step back from further investigation, the story of Hulk Hogan's final days exists in two overlapping versions. On one hand is the official record, a natural death, documented, confirmed, and accepted by his family. On the other hand is the whispered version, suggesting that Hogan's last days may have been more complicated, possibly concealing secrets that were never meant to be discovered. This tension between the confirmed facts and the unverified rumors is what continues to fascinate and trouble fans and observers alike. Even as the world celebrates the legacy of Hulkamania, the shadow of unanswered questions lingers. Investigators, skeptics, and fans are left peering into the unknown, pondering whether there were hidden chapters in Hogan's life and death, chapters that may never be fully revealed. The final chapter of Hulk Hogan remains, in many ways, unfinished, hovering between what is known and what is only whispered in the shadows. What does Hulk Hogan's story stand for today? Is he a legendary figure who transformed the world of wrestling forever? Or a man whose final days might have been shrouded in secrets no one was meant to uncover? Let's find out. Hulk Hogan's legacy. Hulk Hogan's legacy is enormous, almost impossible to capture in simple words. He was not just a wrestler, not just a performer, and certainly not just a celebrity. He was a living legend whose name and presence became larger than life. From the moment he stepped into the ring and lifted Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan cemented his place in history. That single act was not just a wrestling move, it was a defining moment that echoed across arenas and television screens, a moment when the world collectively understood that they were witnessing something unforgettable. Wrestling had heroes before him, but Hulk Hogan transformed the sport, bringing it out of smoky backrooms and small local arenas into the global limelight. He made wrestling, a world once considered niche and obscure by many, into mainstream entertainment that millions could love and recognize instantly. But to call Hulk Hogan simply a wrestler would be an understatement. He became a cultural phenomenon. He crossed effortlessly into television, appearing in shows that allowed fans to see him outside the ring, in ways that made him seem both approachable and larger than life. He ventured into movies, starring in films that were sometimes celebrated, sometimes ridiculed, but always memorable because they carried his unmistakable charisma. He appeared in reality shows, showing his personal side, a glimpse behind the legendary persona that had dominated arenas worldwide. And then there were the scandals, the most notorious of which was a sex tape incident that captured tabloid headlines and shocked millions. Most people, confronted with such an intense public spotlight and the scrutiny that comes with scandal, would have crumbled, disappeared, or faded into obscurity. But not Hulk Hogan. He came back, and he came back stronger. He fought to protect not only his image, but also the legacy he had spent decades building. He fought for his family's name. He fought to remain a symbol of resilience and determination. Hulk Hogan's influence stretched far beyond the squared circle of professional wrestling. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, himself a towering figure in sports entertainment and film, once called Hogan a game-changer, and it was a fitting description. Many within the industry agree that Hulk Hogan's work made wrestling mainstream. He was not just a performer, he was the bridge between a niche sport and global recognition. He became the reason why children's eyes widened in wonder, why fans packed arenas by the tens of thousands, and why merchandise bearing his likeness flew off shelves in record numbers. His catchphrases, his charisma, his larger-than-life presence, all became part of the fabric of pop culture. In Clearwater, Florida, the city that Hulk Hogan called home, the respect and admiration of his fans took tangible form. Local artists, store owners, and ordinary residents painted tribute murals on brick walls and storefronts, each a testament to the enduring impact of the man. Many murals bore his most famous catchphrase, "What you going to do, brother?" A line that had defined a generation, that had sparked excitement and energy in arenas and living rooms across the world. These murals were not merely decorative. They were acts of devotion, of respect, of gratitude, acknowledging a man who had, in the eyes of his fans, become more myth than man. Even after his passing, the presence of Hulk Hogan is felt across Clearwater. Walking through the streets, one could see echoes of him in colors, words, and images, a constant reminder that, in the hearts of many, he had never left. Yet beneath the public tributes, beneath the adoration and nostalgia, a complex and meticulous investigation continued. Authorities have been scrutinizing every corner of Hulk Hogan's digital life. His devices, phones, tablets, and computers, have been analyzed, their contents decrypted where possible, their cloud storage combed through, and secure folders inspected for hidden information. Investigators have been examining metadata from text messages, emails, and call logs, trying to reconstruct the final days of a man who had been under the public eye for decades. They are poring over years of medical records, comparing recent scans and procedures to older files, looking for anything that might have been overlooked or misinterpreted. Toxicology reports are still pending, and officials have made it clear that no possibility is being ignored. Every lead, every detail, every anomaly is being investigated, because in a case like this, the truth is never simple. Meanwhile, legal tensions have begun to mount, adding another layer of complexity to the story. Sky Daily, Hulk Hogan's ex-wife, is reportedly preparing to file a medical malpractice lawsuit. She believes that something went seriously wrong during Hogan's last surgery, an operation that may have played a role in his death. The medical community and legal experts will have to untangle the details, but the seriousness of the claim indicates that the story is far from over. At the same time, Nick Hogan, Hulk Hogan's son, has entered the legal fray with a separate lawsuit. He is reportedly suing radio host Bubba the Love Sponge, alleging defamation and claiming that reckless and false statements have damaged the Hogan legacy. And yet, even as investigators follow leads and the courts prepare for litigation, more questions emerge. The official story, as released to the press and the public, tells one version of events. The whispered leaks, the rumors, the narratives circulating behind closed doors tell another. Somewhere between those two versions, between fact and speculation, truth and conjecture, lies the reality of what happened in Hulk Hogan's final days. Investigators, legal experts, family members, and fans all continue to grapple with what his final days truly entailed. The murals remain, the catchphrases echo, and the myth of Hulk Hogan endures. He may have passed from this world, but his presence, his story, and his influence are eternal. So, what do you think about the shocking revelation by the FBI in Hulk Hogan's mansion? Share your opinion with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.